This next item was the top story until all the rest of tonight's breaking news hit, and it remains the only story today that could end up leaving a legacy for decades to come. This morning, in a rambling and frankly at times surreal press event, the President of the United States declared a national emergency to get billions more dollars for a border wall than Congress approved in their bill to head off another government shutdown. Now, many of the figures he cited in support of the move, when he actually cited figures, were either questionable or just bogus. And beyond that, some of his own words, not to mention the timing and the staging of this, undermine his case that this problem, which truly is a problem, is also a crisis demanding immediate, drastic, and possibly extra-constitutional action. Now, the president made the announcement this morning in the Rose Garden, and because time is always of essence when announcing an emergency, he got right to it.
I'd like to just say that we have a large team of very talented people in China. We've had a negotiation going on for about 2 days.
Okay, so he didn't get right to it, but a national emergency was the very next thing he mentioned.
The UK and the US, as you probably have been seeing and hearing, we're agreeing to go forward and preserve our trade agreement.
All right, so that wasn't it either, but he is going to get to it, although there was this.
We have a lot of great announcements having to do with Syria and our success with the eradication of the caliphate.
Okay, remember, this is to announce a national emergency. Keeping him honest, it took the president 5 minutes and even more talking about his accomplishments before actually announcing the emergency declaration, which doesn't exactly scream urgency, nor do his remarks a short time later, in which he literally described this emergency as a non-emergency, as something he decided to do for reasons of impatience, not necessity. That's what he said.
Everything else, we have so much, as I said, I don't know what to do with it. We have so much money. But on the wall, they skimped. So I was successful in that sense, but I want to do it faster. I could do the wall over a longer period of time. I didn't need to do this, but I'd rather do it much faster.
I didn't need to do this, he said. I'd rather do it faster, which, keep him honest, is a little odd given how slowly he's done this all along. This urgency, as it were, has now been 2 years, one midterm election, one 35-day shutdown, endless threats, 5 minutes of boasting this morning in the making. And it happened despite facts from his own government departments that fail to show the kind of human invasion from the South the president so often invokes in support of the wall, something the president was questioned at length about today by a number of reporters, including our Jim Acosta.
I wonder if you could comment on this disconnect that we seem to have in this country, where you are presenting information about what's happening at the border, calling it an invasion, talking about women with duct tape over their mouths and so on, and yet there's a lot of reporting out there, there's a lot of crime data out there, there's a lot of Department of Homeland Security data out there that shows border crossings at a near record low. That shows undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels. That shows undocumented criminals or undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels than native-born Americans. What do you say to
you don't really believe that stat? Do you really believe that stat?
So your own government stats are wrong, are you saying?
No, I use many stats.
Could you share those stats with us?
Let me tell you, you have stats that are far worse than the ones that I use. But I use many stats, but I also use Homeland Security. All right, next question.
Many stats better than the ones that reporter uses, bigger, harder to climb than Mount Everest, which he said earlier this week. Keep it honest, the president would not be pinned down on this, so much so that the legal website Lawfare Blog today filed a Freedom of Information request for correspondence between the Department of Homeland Security and the White House regarding data used to justify the president's decision. So there's that. We'll see what comes of that. The president, as of yet, not making a full and factual case for his action. There's his statement, which in and of themselves could undermine that case. And there's also just the tone of the whole thing. Listen to this moment, the president acknowledging in a rather unique way the legal obstacles ahead.
The order is signed, and I'll sign the final papers as soon as I get into the Oval Office, and we will have a national emergency, and we will then be sued, and they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit, even though it shouldn't be there. and we will possibly get a bad ruling, and then we'll get another bad ruling, and then we'll end up in the Supreme Court, and hopefully we'll get a fair shake, and we'll win in the Supreme Court, just like the ban. They sued us in the Ninth Circuit, and we lost, and then we lost in the appellate division, and then we went to the Supreme Court, and we won.
It's kind of sing-songy.